The following program is intended for mature audiences.
A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
Hey, look, he remembered the mic button this morning. This guy. Welcome into the Sportsocracy live from the Wicked Weed Studios. It's part 2 of my mock draft version 3. Thank you, Carolina Panthers, for making me do this shit all over again. Sorry for the slight delay. We had computer difficulties. When you have to reload all these graphics 3 times, it's a little burden on the computer.
Not good.
Live here with Brian Haynes. We're going to go pick by pick, 17 through 32 of the 2021 NFL Draft. How'd you feel about yesterday, Brian?
I think there were some surprises, definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing what we got going on for the second half of this draft. You know, I did like, obviously, as a Giants fan, I love to see us trade back in an extra pick and still get the guy that we want. There were some surprises as far as, you know, Atlanta deciding to go with Kyle Pitts instead of a quarterback, but I think everybody knew this is possibly going to happen. After that, it was just seeing the wide receiver play out is something that was interesting to me, because those top 3 receivers, some people have them going like 6, 7, 8. Some people have them going here and here. But it was interesting. I'm looking forward to see the second half here.
As always, we're live from the Wicked Weed Studios. Wicked Weed Brewing, drink different. First pick of this side of the mock, the Las Vegas Raiders. I can't get away from what I'm about to do. I forgot the button. There it is. The Las Vegas Raiders. Michael Parsons.
Oof.
This is a guy that fits this scheme really well. This is a top 10 talent in this draft. First of all, he plays the position that's not super valuable. He's an off-ball linebacker. He's not the pass rusher that people want to make him. He's a very, very good off-the-ball linebacker. Mm-hmm. There have been so many busts in the top 15 that have played this position, top 15, top 20. Going back to Aaron Curry with the Seahawks, Darren Lee with the Jets. There have just been a lot of guys that it didn't translate because it's a very different position. Micah Parsons is so athletic that I think he would fit in nicely with this defense.
Yeah, he was first-team All-American in 2019. He did decide to opt out due to COVID-19. The knock on the guys that opted out, you're going to see it play out just a little bit different. But this guy's got elite range, and he has a burst of speed that's unmatched. He does tend to run himself out of position sometimes, but he is crazy athletic, and he's a hit stick, 100%.
One of the problems with Micah Parsons is I've always described this as if you could throw a football 80 yards, you'd do it all the time, and you'd show all of your friends. Micah Parsons is a 6'3" linebacker that can run a 4.39. Mm-hmm. He over-pursues a lot. He falls for cutbacks. Here's the thing. There's so much talent on this Raiders defense that if it can just coalesce, they're going to be very good. They need a corner. There's not really one here that I feel like they would fit the scheme. Plus, you've got so much draft capital in it. I like Micah Parsons as being a guy that they can pencil in this lineup for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
As just a guy he's just a really solid player.
Absolutely.
He doesn't do anything. There's nothing about him outside of the athleticism that jumps off the page, but he's just very, very good at everything.
Oh,
Next up, the Miami Dolphins. Second pick for the Dolphins. They already took Penny Sewell at 6. At 18, where do they go? This is a guy I didn't have in the first round of my last mock. He is definitively going to go in the first round of the actual draft. Jalen Phillips is really long. One of the knocks on him is that he only did it for a year.
Yeah.
I get it. He's an elite pass rusher. And I think Rousseau and Quincy Roche are too. I think it just so happened Miami had 3 of them at the same time. This is the best of the 3. He's very long. He's scheme versatile. And I think he would fit in quite nicely with the Miami Dolphins.
Absolutely. He's got a high motor. He is a plus rush defender. There is a bit of some injury concerns with his ankle and his wrist coming into this offseason. But, you know, he was second-team All-American. He had 15 and a half tackles for loss. Alongside of Gregory Rousseau and stuff, my only fear is that they were so good together that they're kind of hiding each other a little bit. So
Well, Rousseau was voted the most likely to bust first-round prospect, and I think that's pushed up Jalen Phillips. A lot of people have watched the tape. The benefit on Jalen Phillips, I don't necessarily think he's all that much better than Greg Rousseau. The benefit is he played in 2020 and Rousseau didn't.
Yeah.
Having him on the other side of Quincy Roche, that's another thing that people have dinged him on, is he's always had a premier pass rusher on the other side. There's also, what happened at UCLA. We don't really know, but this is a guy, and am I being lazy putting him in the same city that he came up in? Yes, but I'll tell you a dirty little secret. That happens a lot for a reason, because you have scouts that scout the schools near you really hard, because that's where you get a lot of your undrafted free agents from. I think Jalen Phillips in Miami would be an elite pass rusher. I think he can stand up. Not everybody agrees with me, but I really like Jalen Phillips, and I think he would be a tremendous value for the Miami Dolphins. Next up, the Washington football team.
Here we go.
This is a team I have loved virtually everything they've done in the offseason. Adding Ryan Fitzpatrick gives them a dynamic at quarterback that I think will make the offense. They don't have to hide the offense anymore. You've got, between Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, they have weapons. Mm-hmm. There's part of me that thinks that they want another weapon. Let's see if that's where they go at 19. I'm so drunk on this
Whoa.
guy. I'm so drunk on this guy that I don't
Man.
think I can get away from it. I am Gary Busey drunk on this guy. This is, to me, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is what everybody thinks Micah Parsons is. I actually like Koramoah better than Micah Parsons. He also has none of the character issues. The problem with him is he is a little bit short. He's built like a safety. But I look at a guy like Ron Rivera and think, you can get the most out of this kid.
Yeah, this is scary. Think about this. The Washington football team's defense is already outer world good. They're going to be great. I am also really high on this kid. Butkus Award winner, first team All-American. He's a football hunter. He finds it and goes. He plays so physical. He is a little bit undersized, and he does try for the big hit every once in a while. But, man, this kid is going to be, if he gets in that system, I can see him excelling. I can see him being there for a very long time and being a big, huge anchor for the rest of this defense.
He reminds me a lot of Isaiah Simmons in that he's freakishly talented and he can do a little bit of everything. He doesn't do anything. There's nothing about him that you just go, it jumps off the page. He's very rangy. He's very athletic. There are some teams that see him as a safety. I'm not one. I'm not a scout that sees him that way. I see him as a linebacker. He might have to bulk up. If you've ever seen this kid without a shirt on, you don't have to worry about can he add weight because he looks like Thor, God of Thunder. This kid could add 20 pounds. I wish he was an inch or two taller, but if that's my knock on a guy,
yeah,
and I'm giving him to Ron Rivera, who I think is an elite, scheme-wise defensive guy. I'm all in for Koramoah to the Washington football team. At 20, the Chicago Bears.
Chicago Bears.
You don't have a quarterback here, Chicago.
Yeah.
The thing that people keep trying to shoehorn things into Chicago, you have to remember, this is a front office that knows if this year doesn't go well, we will be fired. Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace will be out of a job by week 6 if this starts off poorly. So what are they going to do? They're going to take the most pro-ready player right now, and I think it's Greg Newsome. He has a lot of people talk about how good the Northwestern defense was. It's really easy to do that when you have a guy like this on the outside. Teams didn't throw at him much because what you were facing on the other side was much less intimidating. But I think Greg Newsome can come in and be a day one starter, pencil him in for 10 years in the lineup of whatever team that takes him.
Yeah, I think this is a great pick. I actually had him rated higher than Caleb Farley, who got drafted a little bit earlier. But he only 31% of passes thrown in his direction were completed. He does have great backpedaling. The only knock I have on it, he does tend to grab a little bit. He did have a lot of pass interference penalties this year. I believe it was 7 or 8 of them, and they didn't play that many games. So,
in all the years that I've been doing this, I've said that about one other guy. Would you care to take a guess who that is?
I'm not sure.
Darrelle Revis. That's the only other guy that I've ever said, oh, he grabs too much. That's my big knock on him.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Greg Newsome can turn into that.
Yeah.
I think he can be a Pro Bowl level corner, especially in this defense.
Yeah.
You got to think, you got Roquan Smith, you got Khalil Mack. This is a team that gets pressure on the quarterback. I think his ball skills will improve. That's a slight knock on him, too, is that he doesn't always play the ball. He tends to play the man. I think that can be taught. I would love Greg Newsome at 20 to the Chicago Bears. They're going they're all in.
Yeah.
And you have to put up the air quotes because it's hard to say you're all in when you're starting Andy freaking Dalton.
Yeah.
But they're trying to patch this together.
Yeah.
I think this team can be a playoff contender. I just don't know that you're ever going to be better than 10-7,
Yep.
9-8, and be right there at the will they, won't they of the playoffs.
Maybe.
But this is a pick that they would love to add a weapon, somebody on the other side of Allen Robinson, but it's got to be somebody that makes sense.
Yeah.
Teres Marshall does not make sense.
Not in this.
Kadarius Toney does not make sense. You already have that guy. His name's Darnell Mooney.
Yep.
It just doesn't make sense to me, so they go with a corner here in round 1. The Indianapolis Colts, fresh off a trade for Carson Wentz, what do they add at 21? I'm not going to lie, I'm not as high on this guy as everybody else is. I don't see it. And I'm not saying he's not a good player. I don't understand what he's going to play in the NFL. He's freak athletic for a guy that's 6'4", 270 pounds. He's an athletic marvel. But I don't know what he does. I don't think he's fast enough to play outside linebacker in a 3-4. I don't think he has the moves for a true 4-3 D end. I've heard people talking about playing him as a rush tackle. Anytime you get into this position of I don't know what you do, it's going to ding you for me. But in Indianapolis, I think he would be a fit.
Yeah, he was a team captain at Michigan. I always put that higher on a list for certain guys. I think that shows their character and what the people think about them around him. He plays very low. He gets leverage to get past the blocks. He does have a pretty slow reading to react, though. But again, this guy is a freak athlete for his size. I agree with you 100%. I have zero idea where he plays.
I don't. And I don't have enough tape on him to really know. You know, the Michigan defense was so bad this year that it's kind of hard to get a read on him. It was almost like he was like a gold bar in a turd sandwich. He was the one highlight that jumped off the film at Michigan. But I've never really, when I watched the tape, I feel like if I put him at Ohio State, he would have gotten washed out. I feel like he would have gotten lost on tape surrounded by other good players. I just felt like he was the best of a bad situation. But you put him next to Darius Leonard and good things could happen. 22, the Tennessee Titans, a team that lost Corey Davis, is bereft of talent at wide receiver. I have a feeling I know where I'm going with this. But not the one you think.
Whoa.
Elijah Moore from Ole Miss. This is a guy who has screamed up draft boards. He was on the Chase Claypool team. This is a guy that I really liked. I thought he was coached well by Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. He's ridiculously fast. He ran a 4.35 at his pro day, and I honestly think I don't think he even got a good jump. I think this is a guy with 4.3 speed. You put him on the other side from A.J. Brown. He plays predominantly in the slot. I don't think he'll play on the outside. I just look at the receivers in this draft and go, he has the best big play potential of any receiver left. He's a good route runner. I wouldn't say he's elite, but I think you can teach that in time. There's not really an outside receiver here for me, and I think this is a weapon that Ryan Tannehill would like in Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, he's an above average / great route runner. The slow go routes, the comeback routes, he excels in those. He broke A.J. Brown's season mark for receptions this year. Having that familiarity with A.J. Brown, I think that's going to help the rookie kid. I think he's going to take him under his wing, kind of help him out. But, you know, there's some other guys that could have gone here. I'm liking this pick more and more now that we're talking about it. He does have a little bit of trouble with the taller defenders, and that's my only knock on the kid.
Well, the thing in the NFL is he's going to play in the slot, and he won't see a lot of those.
Yeah.
He's not going to get the level of press coverage he got in the SEC because you just don't see a lot of slot press corners. That's why I think Elijah Moore is one of those guys that a lot of people will be suspect on why he goes so high on draft night. And 3 years from now, just like A.J. Brown. We had a lot of questions, and I'm not trying to compare the two. They're very different receivers.
No, yeah.
But we had a lot of questions about A.J. Brown on draft night. He fell. Tennessee took him. Is he just a slot guy? No, he's not. And having him on the other side pulls a lot of the coverage away from Elijah Moore. This is going to sound strange, but I think he could fill a lot of the Jonnu Smith role. A lot of the just get open over the middle. Because this is a kid that is absolutely fearless across the middle. I don't care what anybody says. I've heard some knocks on his crocodile arms across the middle. That's not what I see.
Yeah.
I see a guy that was willing to take a lot of hits. A lot of people just missed him because he's so short. 23, my fighting New York Jets. Fresh off the pick of Zach Wilson. Where do they go at 23? Tank's going to be sad.
Oh, man, he's going to be so sad.
Tank's going to be sad. Azeez Ojulari, this is the knock on Ojulari is that he might be a little small. I think he can add weight and be fine. He's raw. He's very raw, but he was coached well at Georgia. He has some pass rush moves. A lot of times he just went on either speed or power, depending on who he's playing up against. This is a guy that I look at and go, coached up by Rob Salah, I could see this going really, really well.
So he was the first freshman ever to be named captain by Kirby Smart. I think that says a lot about his character. And this kid is built like a brick shit house, period. You look at him and he's just an Adonis. He doesn't get off blocks really, really well, but I think this is another home run hit for the New York Jets. I think that Joe Douglas drafts fantastic. I think they're going to need this position, and I can't like this any more than I do right now.
Ojulari, to me, is one of the safer of the pass rushers. I could see bust potential in Greg Rousseau. I could see bust potential in a lot of guys. I don't see a potential that 4 years from now we're talking about Azeez Ojulari as a guy that, how did we miss on him so badly? To be honest with you, I think his floor is the guy he's going to be playing across from, Carl Lawson. I think that's his floor. The way Lawson was in Cincinnati, where he didn't necessarily rack up sack numbers, but he gets a lot of pressure. His win rate's really high. And I think in a Rob Salah defense, where they rotate a lot of pieces, the deficiencies of Azeez Ojulari could be covered up. My wife's favorite team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, at 24, bringing back Ben Roethlisberger, bringing back a lot more of this team than I thought they would.
Right.
At 24, they have to add a running back, right?
I think that's no doubt.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's Najee Harris. Najee Harris just strikes me as the kind of guy that fits in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
He's not as much of a bruiser as you think he is. People compare him to Derrick Henry because he's a big running back from Alabama. Mm-hmm. No, he's not. He's way more athletic than Derrick Henry is. Derrick Henry is not – he gets clocked as straight line fast. I feel like Najee Harris is more nimble than Derrick Henry is. He can still break tackles. He's actually a weapon out of the backfield as a receiver. To me, he's the total package and fits in nicely in Pittsburgh.
This kid is a beast. He rarely fumbles. He hits the holes with urgency. He did have 200-plus carries 2 years in a row, though there's a little bit of tread on the tires, if you so to speak. You're right. This guy screams the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the people are going to fall in love with him, and I think this is a running back that they really needed. They've been struggling to find a sourceable running back since Le'Veon Bell left, and I think this is going to fit the need that they have. And then you still have, McFarland and, whoever else they have on the team with them. And I think they'll have a good time with this guy.
I think Benny Snell can be a nice compliment to him, Anthony McFarland as well. Fun little fact, this is the third mock draft I've done. There are 2 picks in this draft that the same player has gone to the same team at the same spot in all 3. Trevor Lawrence is one, Najee Harris is the other. I've heard Najee Harris to Pittsburgh literally since 2 weeks after the season ended.
Yeah.
This is just one of those picks that makes entirely too much sense. I mean, I could see them going other places because they do have holes in other places, but Najee Harris fits this team. It adds an element that they were missing last year, and it makes so much sense that would be the only reason it wouldn't happen.
Right.
It makes too much sense. The Jacksonville Jaguars, fresh off taking Trevor Lawrence, second pick in the first round at number 25. Trayvon Morgan. This is a guy whose stock has increased. He's got good size for a safety. He can play in the box. The one knock on him is that he's not a single high guy. That's fine. Urban Meyer doesn't do a lot of that. Urban Meyer is going to play a very collegial-looking defense. I think you're going to have 2 guys over the top. You have Rayshon Jenkins on the other side that they got from the Chargers who can do the ball hockey things, which allows Trayvon Morgan to play up in the box more. He's not a box safety. He can do everything as a safety. One of the perks of him is that he's very good against the run.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim Thorpe Award winner. He is got great size. He's a great tackler. He does take the bait on double moves sometimes, and he played a lot better in 2019 than he played last year. So that was a little bit of.
So did all of TCU.
I understand that. I think this is going to be a great guy fit in that system moving forward. I think that he can improve on some of the things that he has deficiencies in, but good size, great tackler, got great vision, and the speed to recover.
Very good player. I think he would fit nicely in that Urban Meyer defense. 26, the Cleveland Browns. This is a pick that I've had. There's a third one that I've had the same player to the same team. It just wasn't always at this pick.
Right.
Cleveland Browns at 26. Christian Barmore from Alabama.
Woof.
This is the only true, no doubt, nose tackle in this draft. This is a guy I can see them using to replace Sheldon Richardson. He is a good pass rusher from the interior, very strong kid. He reminds me of Quinnen Williams. Again, doing that thing that I hate, comparing a guy that went to the same school. He reminds me a little bit of Quinnen Williams. The difference is this kid is – Quinnen was in a grown man's body from the time he was 19 years old. I still feel like Christian Barmore could fill out. He's got a little – there's a little kid fat on him that makes me a little nervous because I don't know how he's going to grow. The thing that mitigates that is he's been in the Alabama strength and conditioning program for 3 years. And that's as close to the NFL as you're going to get. He was the best player on the field defensively in the national title game. There are some character issues with this kid, some maturity issues, and that's why, in my opinion, he falls to 26. I have him as a top 20 talent.
Yeah, he's a beast. He's a huge man. I know that Tank really wanted Tampa Bay to have him. They never thought he was going to make it all the way to 32. But he's got above average feet. He's extremely explosive off the jump. He tends to go freestyle a little bit, and he does get caught up on some screens sometimes because he moves too fast uphill and then doesn't get turned around right enough to recognize what's going on in the play. But again, this kid comes from Alabama. He's been in a great system. Cleveland is just adding more and more and more pieces. This defense is going to be scary this year. They're going to be a really good team.
The knock on him is, like you said, that he can over-pursue. You know the best way to mitigate that? Put him next to Myles Garrett, who might be the most intuitive defensive end in the NFL.
Right.
I really like the fit for him in Cleveland. I liked the fit in Minnesota before that. Minnesota was the other place I had thought about him going. They added a defensive tackle, and I think that's too high for him at this point. Mm-hmm. I can't get away from him going to Cleveland. The player that's going to go at 27 is another guy that I like in Cleveland. I just don't know that they can pass this kid up if he's on the board.
Right.
And I believe he will be. 27, the Baltimore Ravens. This has been the same position multiple times, but not this time.
Oh, man.
This is my favorite landing spot for Zaven Collins. Zaven Collins is the most multiple player in this draft. He was the hardest to do a stat line for because it ran off the screen.
Yeah.
He just does a little bit of everything. I could see the range of outcomes with him is he could end up as an inside linebacker in a 3-4, and I could see him being a Devin White light. Or he goes to a team like the Baltimore Ravens that want to use him as a pass rusher, use his athleticism, and use the fact that he can cover. Zaven Collins, to me, has the body of a natural pass rusher, but he has the skill set of a really good cover guy. There has never been a team, at least I can't think of one, that had an edge rusher in that kind of defense that could cover and not be a complete liability. This guy can do that.
He's one of my favorite players in this entire draft. He was first-team All-American. You said it yourself. He's a stat stuffer. This guy just knows where to be. He's got great vision. Size and athleticism. He destroys blockers. As I was reading up on him, trying to figure out where he's going, I mean, this is crazy because he screamed Baltimore Ravens to me the more and more I read about him, but he is absolutely one of my favorite players in this entire draft, and I think Baltimore is going to absolutely love this guy.
I agree with you. I see I see a lot in this kid. He just does, and the story on him is phenomenal. If you don't know it, you can Google it. I don't have enough time on this show to go into it. He's had a very interesting life, let's put it that way, and a lot of adversity. Wasn't highly recruited, wound up at Tulsa, and just balled. I mean, the tape on him, he jumps off the screen, and people say, "Oh, low level of competition." I'd go the hell on.
Yeah.
If you're saying that about Tulsa, what the hell are you saying about Wisconsin, Whitewater, or some of these other schools that we have prospects in the top in the first 2 days?
Yep.
28th pick in the NFL draft, the New Orleans Saints, a team that I continuously get told I'm stupid for thinking that they're not going to be as good without a Hall of Fame quarterback. Yeah, that's a thing that people say to me a lot.
That's insane.
Teres Marshall from LSU.
Woo.
I have a lot of questions about him. Don't compare him to Jamar Chase. Don't compare him to Justin Jefferson. He's not in the same ballpark as those two guys. Here's what he does, and he does really well. He's really tall, and he's really fast. He does not get off the line well. This is a guy that doesn't deal with press well. He's a little thin for how tall he is. I think he can go to the league, add 10 to 15 pounds of muscle, and be an outside threat, allowing Michael Thomas to play in the slot. This is a guy that can get over the top. He gives you a deep threat. He's a really tall version of Emmanuel Sanders, who was in New Orleans last year. I would like this pick. I'm reaching a little bit because I have Teres Marshall in the late 30s. I just don't see, with Michael Thomas already on the team, I don't see them taking a slot guy, and we're into now there are a ton of slot receivers and not a lot of outside guys part of the draft.
Yeah, he's a playmaker. He caught a touchdown like every 4 catches. He did opt out after 7 games. There's a little bit of a knock on him that he lacks some focus. He doesn't, if he's not involved in the play, he doesn't necessarily stay involved. He just overwhelms smaller DBs. He's tall, he's fast. He's going to be a nice person to put on the outside across from Michael Thomas. Staying close to home, I think that always kind of helps a little bit as far as, where he went to school and everything. I thought for a longest time that Teres Marshall was going to be going to Baltimore, the pick before. But this is the pick right here. Like you said, there's a lot of slots, not a lot of outside guys.
There are a lot of slot receivers in this draft. And I feel like the reason I didn't put him in Baltimore is I don't think he can block. I don't think he has any ability to block whatsoever. And the Ravens will be taking a receiver in the 2nd round that I'm pretty fond of because he can do that, and you wouldn't think he could do that. If you want to see that, check out our team-by-team previews. We'll be putting out a lot of those today. Put out Jacksonville yesterday. The New York Jets, right before this show, we'll be putting the 49ers out. It's going in draft order. So we'll go in the order of they actually draft, not where they were slotted. So the last teams are the Rams and the Texans and the Seahawks that don't have first-round picks. 29, the Green Bay Packers. Surely this has to be a receiver,
It
right?
has to be, right?
It has to be a receiver.
Absolutely.
Or not. Or it could not be. Or it could 100% not be. And I don't think it is. Tevin Jenkins is a guy that I do like. There are a litany of knocks on this guy. One is that he's very old. I know he looks like he's 11 years old. He looks like a very large 11-year-old. He's actually one of the oldest players in this draft. He will be 23 on draft day. So Green Bay has to do something to this line. Losing Corey Linsley, I think they're going to have to reshape things. We saw in the Super Bowl what can happen if you don't have linemen. And let's call it what it is. Green Bay does not value wide receivers. Yeah. And there's not a guy that, in my opinion, you could take right here that's not going to be overdrafting a receiver. And you take Rondale Moore, I'm not sure you can't get him in the 2nd round. You'll have to watch the Green Bay Packers video or watch our live show here tomorrow where we go through rounds 2 and 3 to find that out. But there are in the comments, Armchair Commentary asked me, why are there so few offensive linemen? Because there's not that many that differentiate themselves. Tevin Jenkins, to me, is the highest end of the 2nd tier. There's a lot of guys that are the same guy. And I considered Ali Vera-Tucker here because he is more multiple. Tevin Jenkins, if you told me there were 2 left tackles that came out of this draft, I know Penny Sewell's one. I would place my wagers that Tevin Jenkins was the 2nd one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first thing you think is people are going to lose their damn minds because Green Bay didn't draft a wide receiver here. we've talked about this endlessly, that this draft is loaded with wide receivers to where you can actually get somebody in the second round that I think is just as equal to overdrafting someone at this position. They do need help on the offensive line. This guy did do very, very well at the Senior Bowl. A lot of the coaches were talking high about him. He's a plus run blocker, and he gets to the second level. I think that Green Bay is going to continue to kind of, work Aaron Jones, let play action work with Aaron Rodgers, and I think as long as they draft a wide receiver in the second round, I think people will forgive them. But I'm just not sure. I think the world's going to come to an end on Twitter.
Oh, I mean, they'll lose their fucking minds. There's no doubt. But this is what's going to happen. Because I've played this out with Green Bay probably 30 times. Which is better? You take a guy like a Rondale Moore or somebody like that right here and then try to find a lineman at the back end of the second round. And trust me, it gets dicey in a hurry. Or you do this here, and you've got guys like De'Ami Brown from North Carolina. I mean, there are a ton of receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Equanimous' little brother.
Yep.
That's another pick that I can't really get away from.
I know.
Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to end up in Green Bay.
I feel the same way about that.
Position scarcity is going to drive a lot of things in this draft. There's just no doubt about it because there's so many of certain things and so few of other things. Number 30, the Buffalo Bills. I'm higher on this guy than anybody else is. He can play every spot on the line. He's not a nose tackle, but he can give you tremendous interior pass rush. He can also play on the outside. This is a guy next to Ed Oliver that I think would be a freak of nature. And I look at Buffalo, and Buffalo just doesn't need that much. Buffalo's at that point. I can't believe I'm saying this because they've been so bad for so long. They're at a point where they can take luxury picks. Yeah, you can take a guy like Boogie Basham right here, of which the reason the knock on him is not the talent. The talent's fine. His tape in 2019 was phenomenal to me.
Yeah,
I think he can be a high-end interior pass rusher. This is a guy that I've had going to Tampa Bay for a long time. I actually like the fit better in Tampa, but I think he would be phenomenal in Buffalo.
The rich get richer. I mean, there's a few teams we've talked about this, like San Francisco, Miami, Buffalo, that they're really, really ready to go. They don't have a lot of needs necessarily. Buffalo has the luxury of trying to say, hey, we kind of need someone right here. Let's go get the best player available. This guy's a 3-year starter, and he jumps off the board. He gets past the initial blocks. He's got really good hands. Does lack a little bit of lateral quickness, but I just can't. I see this just being another great pick, another weapon for Buffalo, and they just continue to get better and better and better.
Buffalo is very good. This is a team that I've been on. I see them 2 times a year, so I've watched the evolution of this from when we were talking about Josh Allen as a bust. Well, he's not a bust anymore. This team's very, very good. Reigning AFC champion, Kansas City Chiefs. This is a guy who has screamed up the board lately. A lot of teams see him as a guard. I don't. I see him as tackle. And I think he can play right tackle. I firmly believe Kansas City is going to bring back Eric Fisher. The more time has gone on, the more he has not taken visits, the more he has not talked to other teams. I firmly believe they're going to bring back Eric Fisher.
Yeah.
If you tell me I have Joe Thuney, Eric Fisher, Jackson Carman on the same offensive line, first of all, I have the biggest line in the history of football.
Yeah.
When they get off the bus, they're going to look like the Monstars from Space Jam. This kid is gigantic, but he actually has pretty good feet. He gets a little deep, which can be a problem. I think that can be coached out of him. And I think him at right tackle would be fantastic.
A gigantic human being. Absolutely. He improved his pass protection year after year after year, which I think is why he's actually screaming up some boards, because I think that was a huge knock on him the previous year. He does struggle to get to the backside block every once in a while, but Kansas City needs offensive line help. You've seen what happened in the Super Bowl. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that they're drafting an offensive lineman in this position, and they're going to pick the best one on the board, period.
The Ohio State tape with Jackson Carman is, he jumps off the screen. That's his high end, and he had his best game of the year against the best competition he played all year. That tells me a lot.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's the reason he's screaming up the board. Final pick in our first round of our 2021 mock draft version 3, the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, boy.
My soul died a little bit doing that. Asante Samuel Jr. Tampa Bay has virtually no deficiencies. The one deficiency I think they have is that they don't have a high-end corner. I think Asante Samuel in Todd Bowles' defense can be that guy. The stock on him has screamed through the roof. This is a guy that at the beginning of the process was, we were talking about him as a late 2, early 3. I will not be shocked. Every year there's a guy that goes in the first round and we go, whoa, didn't see that coming. And I think it could be Asante Samuel Jr. I do. The one thing I will say is don't be shocked if Tampa Bay moves down. They have one of the most valuable picks in this draft because it's the cheapest first-round pick that you have a fifth-round option on. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be shocked if a team, I'm going to say Pittsburgh tries to get up here to take a quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got the bloodline, obviously. He opted out, which, again, is something that people think about. He's a little bit undersized. I don't think he's that undersized, but he's just a little bit undersized.
He's very thin.
Yeah. He's got really good feet. He finds the receiver before finding the ball, so he actually keeps his head real good. He never just runs at the guy. He's not going to get very many pass interference calls on him. Again, you talked about it. Tampa Bay is loaded everywhere. I think they have a luxury of, at this point, saying, this is a little bit of where we need. I think it's kind of where we talked about with Buffalo. You just go out and you say, we need a little bit here. Let's go find the best guy. And I think Tank's going to be very happy with this pick.
He struggles with in press man. The beauty is Tampa Bay doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So Asante Samuel is one of those guys that you're going to see a wide range of grades. Cover 2, cover 3 teams are really going to love him. Press man teams aren't. So that's where you're going to see a difference in the grade. I could see them moving down and still procuring this player. That's why I mocked him here. I don't tend to do trades late in mock drafts. If I start hearing it towards the end, as time goes on, as we get closer and closer to draft day, that's where I tend to do that. I don't really do them often in mock drafts like this. There you have it. 32 picks. Almost 32 teams.
Almost.
We got 3 teams that
right.
don't have first-round picks. We will be doing team-by-team coverage. A lot of them will be going out today, tomorrow, over the weekend. The objective is to have every team done by the beginning of the week next week. Mm-hmm. And then we start talking about players.
Yeah.
And then you'll have content to, if you're not a big college football fan or you're a lapsed college football fan that missed some of this season, you will know who your team is drafting on draft night. Live from the Wicked Weed Studios, Wicked Weed Brewing, drink different. I'm Jeremy Greene. He's Brian Haynes. We will see you in the morning.